Even though the one by one, all the places were sinking as they were moving, the mansion of Krishna was standing for a few days. Somewhere in that region only, Krishna's Dwarka was there. So whenever they want to come to the mainland, they will come to Prabhas only immediately. And then he has found many structures underground. And then the harbor like rings and then whatever things that you will find in a harbor. Namaste.
Namaste, Jayasree ma'am. Welcome to our
Namaste.
channel. So I'm not taking too much of your time. We are already past the 11 o'clock mark. I'll hand over to Vidya ji for the introduction. Vidya ji.
Namaste, Jayasree ma'am. Good morning.
Namaste.
Yeah, happy to see you. Namaste and a very warm welcome to everyone here. It's my privilege today to introduce our main speaker for the day, Dr. Jayasree Saranathan. Dr. Jayasree, who hails from Chennai, has several titles to her credit. She's a researcher, an author, as well as a writer in several mainstream print journals and magazines, both in Tamil and English, right from 1990. After graduating in history and economics from Madras University, as well as doing her postgraduate diploma in business administration, Jayasree ji was drawn back to astrology, which was a subject introduced to her in her teens by her maternal grandfather. So she went on to do her studies on astrology initially from Madurai Kamraj University and then MA and PhD from Poti Sri Ramalu Telugu University in Hyderabad. Epigraphy was another subject in which she did a certificate course from the Reach Foundation. Jayasree ji's deep interest in Indology, Hindu epics, Tamil Sangam literature, prehistory, astrometeorology, etc., led her to ably connect the missing dots in ancient texts as well as its correct interpretation. And she has done extensive research and written several articles in depth on the same. Jayasree ji has authored quite a few books, one of the earliest being Oral Cancer, Astrological Prediction and Remedies, which was published in July 2021. This interesting book is one of a kind, serving as a guide in medical astrology, not only for astrologers and astrology enthusiasts, but also for any layman. It's based on the detection of oral cancer through the interpretation of one's horoscope, as well as the techniques of predicting different types of cancer, diseases of the mouth and the face, speech disorders, cleft palate, etc. It also includes remedial measures based on astrology. Her fourth book was the Mahabharata 3136 BCE, Validation of the Traditional Date, which was published in November 2021. The 18 chapters of this book covers several aspects that include authentication of the year of the Mahabharata war, the beginning of Kali Yuga after the departure of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, tackling issues in dating with the use of astronomy simulators, inputs based on nimittas of terrestrial, atmospheric, and celestial observations, discovery of a cosmic impact, uncovering of the location of Sri Krishna's Dwarka, etc. In May 2022, Jayasree ji published the English version of the Ramanuja Itihasa, decoding the identity of Krimikantha Chola and the Muslim invader at Melukote, while the Tamil edition was published in April 2023. This book is based on resolving the two historical mysteries of Sri Ramanuja's life that has far-reaching implications for our understanding of the history of the medieval Cholas, as well as the unrecorded earliest incursion of Islamic iconoclasts into the south of Bharat in the 11th century CE after the death of Muhammad of Ghazni. When was the first Vedic Homa done? Was another book published in August 2022 by Jayasree ji. This establishes 10,000 BCE as the date of the first Vedic Homa that heralds the start of the Vedic culture. Based on narration lying undeciphered from the Mahabharata and Tamil Sangam literature, it allegorically describes that the first Homa, which was done by Sri Skanda, popularly known as Tamil Kadavul, was while performing the marriage of Swaha with Agni, as well as the redesign of the zodiac by Sri Skanda to include the star Kritika to make up for the exclusion of Abhijit. Another interesting read by Jayasree ji is Who Killed Aditya Karikala? The Historical Facts, which was published in English in September 2023, while the Tamil edition was published 2 months earlier. This book was brought out to point out the variations as well as place facts on the table with respect to the famous story of Ponniyin Selvan, written by the well-known writer Kalki, where the story differs in many places from the real history of the characters featured in it. One of her latest books to be published in February 2024 is The Date of Adi Shankara 148 BCE, which is all about finding out the birth date of Sri Adi Shankara, as well as to settle disputed versions on King Purnavarman and a place called Shrugna, mentioned by Sri Adi Shankara in his commentary. Of her earlier books, a couple of them included critiquing the controversial research paper on Sri Andal by Mr. Vairamuthu, the lyricist, as well as debunking the epoch of Arundhati, which was proposed by Sri Nilesh Oak. Dr. Jayasree's upcoming book is about establishing the date of Ramayana and explaining how the loss of a tithi during the Mahabharata is reflected in our inability to align the birth tithi of Sri Rama with his birth star in the month of Mesha. This book will also be looking into matters such as the birth of Sri Rama in the Treta Yuga, the identity of the Vanaras, and identification of the abode of Ravana in Sri Lanka. Jayasree, Dr. Jayasree Saranathan, today it is indeed an honor for us to have you on our platform of Satyameva Jayate. Thank you so much for joining us. And if I had cut short any of this, I would have been doing injustice to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vidya ji and Ravishankar ji. Actually, Vidya ji has given, she has done my agent, publicity agent work, I should say, for all the books. But it is a very fantastic introduction that you have given to almost all of my main books, which I'm really glad, I'm very happy. I'm indebted to you for giving that publicity now. Of all the books that you have spoken, particularly the Mahabharata, that is a validation of the date. In this book only, I have talked about, or I have written about Dwarka, Krishna's Dwarka. Why I say Krishna's Dwarka? Why not just this book only? And then this book is available with me. Anyone who wants to have this book can write to Jayasree Books at gmail.com, and it is available on Kindle also. Coming back to the topic, why I said
Jayasree ma'am. Jayasree ma'am, when you are finished with the presentation, let me know. Then I will open it up for questions. So the mic is all yours. Go ahead, madam.
Yes, thanks. That is why Krishna's Dwarka, that word itself, because always I used to mention Krishna's Dwarka, because there have been many Dwarkas. So far, there have been 7 Dwarakas, according to researchers. And also the kind of Dwarakas, the places that we know as Dwaraka today, are not Krishna's Dwaraka. That is the crux of my research. That is why I'm saying Krishna's Dwaraka. Then where was Krishna's Dwaraka? And then why the present day Dwarakadish, Bed Dwaraka, which have been extensively researched, were they not Krishna's Dwaraka? Didn't Krishna live in those places? These questions are coming up. That is why I'm saying this Krishna's Dwaraka and where it was located. And initially, let us start from the issues. The issues in that, what is the current topic? What is the current scholarship? Where Krishna's Dwaraka is located. So we will look into that and then come back to where it exactly was, according to my research, and how it was lost into the sea. I would like to present these issues through slides. And so I am sharing the screen now. Basically, in 2001, in the year 2001, this research started in full form. The first one to have done a detailed research is Dr. S.R. Rao. Here you can see Dr. S.R. Rao from Mysore University. He was an archaeologist. He has made 12 expeditions into the place near Dwarakadish. And he has published this book, this Marine Excavations. In this book, he has specifically made a note here like this. That is the original Dwaraka. Where was the original Dwaraka? According to him, he has placed 4 places. He has noted 4 places. One is Bed Dwaraka, which all of us will be knowing now. This is closer to Dwarakadish temple. That is the temple of Krishna's Dwaraka, where we go and worship the deity. Just close to that, those who have gone to Dwarakadish will know from the Dwarakadish. It is on the seashore only, in northern Gujarat, in the northern border of Gujarat, facing the western side, near the Kutch, the Gulf of Kutch. So from the Dwarkadish temple, you can see into the sea a place, a kind of island. It's known as the Bet Dwarka. This area is likely to be Krishna's Dwarka, according to him. There is another one called Visavada. It is in Porbandar, and as he himself said, he analyzed, but there are no indications for a Dwaraka, a submerged Dwaraka in olden time. And then the next place he analyzed was Kodinar. It is where you find Mool Dwaraka. You'd have heard about some Navadwarakas as Panchadwarakas, of which this Mool Dwaraka, it is in the southeastmost corner of Gujarat. There outside, that is next to the Kodinar, is Mool Dwaraka on the seashore. According to legend, Krishna, when he planned to build Dwaraka, he stayed in Mool Dwaraka. He camped in Mool Dwaraka with his relatives, and from there only he has constructed the place that is Dwaraka in the sea. So that is a very important place. And another one is Girnar. Girnar is known as the Raivataka mountain, because very often we come across this name Raivataka mountain in Mahabharata, in Harivamsha, which is close to Krishna's Dwaraka. Only while going round the Raivataka mountain, Krishna's sister Subhadra was sighted by Arjuna, who had then later taken her, abducted her to marry. So this place is this Girnar. He felt that Girnar also could not have been a probable place because it is much interior. Dwaraka is supposed to be surrounded by water. So he zeroed in on Bet Dwaraka, which was just close to Dwarkadish. I am showing the Dwarkadish temple in Dwarka. What you call as Dwarka today, when you say I went to Dwarka, means you are going to Dwarkadish. It is in the northern side of Gujarat. Just from there, if you are looking at the sea, you will see the Bet Dwarka region. There, Dr. S.R. Rao made 12 expeditions so far. And then he has found many structures underground. And then the harbor like rings and then whatever things that you will find in a harbor, they have also been found out. Then foundations have been found out. So he strongly felt that he has found out Krishna's Dwaraka, which was in Bet Dwaraka. Today there is a temple in Bet Dwaraka also that is there. I am showing the location where he has done the analysis, that is the expeditions. This part of the sea, this is Gulf of Kutch, northern Gujarat towards western side. In this area only he has gone through. And this area, I tell you, we have to first think, suppose this is Krishna's Dwaraka, it had gone underwater. What is the probable cause? When you are looking for probable causes, I am showing you here this Karachi region, that is the south of Pakistan. And here, can you see this side is Africa, Persian Gulf here, and here Gujarat. So this area is known as Makran Coast. There is this Arabian Sea tectonic plate subducting inside Eurasian tectonic plate. That is, this is a different tectonic plate. This is a different tectonic plate. And there is always some stress here. This one is just pushing into that. So this Makran Coast entire area is liable for earthquakes frequently. And it has been happening every 100 years. The last time an earthquake had taken place was in 1925. Even during the period of Alexander, it was said that he had stationed his naval fleet on the estuary of river Indus in this region. And this Makran fissure stress had happened at that time, leading to underwater earthquakes and giving rise to tsunami. Because of that, his fleet was completely destroyed. There is a recorded version, and there is research on that also tallying with that date. So my problem is I am looking at the causes for the submersion of Dwaraka. Suppose this place identified by S.R. Rao was correct. So in that case, many earthquake analysis have happened. All that have shown how the fissures will create, that earthquake will create tsunami waves. The propagation of the waves, the direction, everything have been accounted for. And it has also been told that if there is a tsunami generated here, it will attack Dwarkadish within 3 hours. And I am sure the government of India has made evacuation routes also, because I came across research papers on the evacuation routes. But the problem is, when you are looking at it, this is the place. Definitely, this will be affected if there is a tsunami there. But this place where S.R. Rao has analyzed, it has the date, like it was dated at 1500 BCE only. That is only 3500 years before present. These structures have come up. Before that, these structures were not there. But so we'll keep it that way, because Krishna's birth or Krishna's Krishna leaving this earth had happened 5,000 years ago, according to our tradition. This is showing 3,500 years ago. Now I am coming to another place, another research. This research is done by NIOT, National Institute of Ocean Technology, and then under the guidance of Dr. Badri Narayan, who was a geologist. And this place in the Gulf of Cambi, you can see here. There it is Gulf of Kutch in this region, what you have just seen. There is another one, this has been zeroed in on. This also was found out in the year 2001. And at that time, this was very much popularized, publicized, because the minister at that time was Mr. Murali Manohar Joshi. He just pushed it forward, hoping that this will show the date. Because Murali Manohar Joshi and others, even though they were supportive of the research in Dwarka, they were not convinced, because the date doesn't tally with Krishna's date. So when this was found out by NIOT, everybody was happy. That is, the remains of an ancient city have been found at a depth of 40 meters in the Gulf of Cambi. And you can see a lot of articles about it by Badri Narayan, the geologist who worked on it. But he has found out that this area, not just one city or something, a lot of remnants have been found out, but they all have gone under water in 3 different periods due to underwater earthquakes. And that period ranges from 7,500 BP. BP means before present. So you have to minus 2,000 years from now. That means 5,500 BCE. And this is up to 2,800 BP. That means 800 BCE. Also within this range, these structures have gone underwater. Once again, this cannot be taken into account, because Krishna left this world on 3101 BCE. You may be wondering how I got this date. This date is etched in our time scale as the beginning of Kali Yuga. Even today, we follow this Kali Yuga date. We are in the 5,125th year as of last, that is 2023, Chaitra Masa. So this is also proven in many of the epigraphic notings, documents. For example, Vidya madam told that I recently wrote this Adishankara book, 148 BCE. And then you would have been wondering, the Adishankara's date has been given as 509 BCE by Kanchi Paramacharya himself. How did he arrive at it? He arrived at it by deducting it from 3102. Normally, people used to say 3102. This was brought out by foreigners using the Julian calendar. The Julian dates are different. We use a Gregorian date. There is a discrepancy of 1 day for every 132 years. So the actual date is 3101 only. There are other reasons also. For example, Bhaskaracharya has told 3179 years before the Shalivagna Shaka only, Kali Yuga started. Kali Yuga started on the day when Krishna left the world. This is told in many Puranas. This is told in Bhagavata Purana also. From that time onwards, we are keeping the record. So we know the date of Krishna leaving the earth. But that date doesn't suit. Like when you see the Kutch excavation and also the Cambi excavation. So the currently held, the 2 places, either this or that. If you are looking at other researchers, they will be just going with any one of these only. Those who are putting Mahabharata date in 5000 BCE, they'll be looking at Cambi. And those who are putting it at 1500 BCE, they'll be clinging on to Kutch. Whereas that is not the real date of Krishna leaving the earth. That is why we don't agree with that. Now looking at the places like where Krishna's last remains were found, we already very well know there is a place called Veraval. Veraval in South Gujarat. I am showing the coastline of southwestern Gujarat, where there is a place called Veraval, where only we have a temple for Krishna on the assumption that he left the world only here. His body was found only in this period, only in this place. Just close to that is Prabhas. Prabhas is where the Somnath temple is there. Prabhas was the olden name. In Mahabharata period, Prabhas was a very important pilgrimage destination. Nowadays, we go to Kasi as a final destination for a spiritual pilgrimage. But in the time period of Mahabharata, only this place was the final resting place or the final place of visit on any pilgrimage path. So this was Somnath, this was Prabhas, and very often in Mahabharata, in Harivamsa, also it is told that Krishna went from Dwarka to Prabhas, that is towards the sea, that is from Prabhas. You have to look at towards the sea, somewhere in that region only, Krishna's Dwarka was there. So whenever they want to come to the mainland, they will come to Prabhas only immediately. For example, Arjuna was on exile soon after the marriage with Draupadi because of the curse, like he should not be, he could enter into the place where Draupadi is with the other brother. So he entered in Yudhishthira's room. He violated that rule. So the brother who is violating that rule will be sent on for exile for 13 years. So soon after the marriage with the Draupadi, he had to go on an exile, he alone. At the time he came, at the end of it, he came to Prabhas to just worship God. On coming to know that Arjuna had come over there, Krishna immediately just passed over to Prabhas, met him, then taken him to Raivataka mountain, where only he meets Subhatra. And then he inquires who she is. He told her, if you want, you marry her. She's my sister only. That is how the discourse will go. So this is one example I am showing you to say that Krishna's Dwarka was somewhere closer to Prabhas only. So it was somewhere here. And then there is another one that is Mool Dwarka. That is in the southernmost part. In Mool Dwarka, by the very word of it, you can say that is the earliest or the original Dwarka. So what happened was, since Jarasandha was troubling Krishna and others, he decided to shift. And he told Yudhishthira that he himself, and there are 18 clans, Vrishni clans, Vrishnis, Antakas, Kukuras, all these are different clans, all relatives, cousins of Krishna. They all decided, they were all actually traders, very good at trading. So they wanted to have a peaceful life and then protect their property and not fight with Jarasandha. He says, even if I fight for 300 years, we cannot win him. So we will shift over to Dwarka. So 18 clans, with 18 clans, he shifted. So this much only is given in Mahabharata. But by tradition, that is by oral transmission, we are being told Mool Dwarka is where Krishna came and camped. From there, he built this Dwarka temple. But there is a research also in that place regarding that Somnath, but not much has been done. So now we are coming to see. This is the background. What I have told until now is the background of what the existing knowledge of it. So let us see how the text describe Dwarka, how it was. So from that, let us see whether we are able to find out. It just says it was an island. Harivamsa, mainly. Harivamsa is a primary text because it is a kila, that is it is an addendum for Mahabharata written by Vyasa himself. So it is reliable. It's an island. And then it was accessible from Prabhas. It was closer to Prabhas. Suppose this was Bet Dwarka. Prabhas was more than 200 kilometers from there. Whereas suppose it was somewhere near the sea area that I have shown, it was just a few kilometers. So easily accessible from Prabhas. And then what happened, since it was an island, here there is an interesting story which you would have already heard. Krishna called Vishwakarma to construct the city for him. Vishwakarma came and just saw that island at the sea. And then he said, This area is just enough for building the mansion for Krishna. But what about that 18 clans, his family? There is no place. So please, Krishna, give me some land. Then Krishna contemplated on the Varuna Bhagavan, that is the sea god, and then the sea rose up. There was a wind at that time, and the sea rose up and then gave land. 12 yojanas of land had risen from sea. This is what it is written. This is what many of you would have already known. 12 yojanas means nearly 96 miles, which is equal to 154 kilometers. So just imagine, from the sea, from just from nowhere, the land has risen up, means that land must be unstable. Anytime it can go down. There is a upliftment of land. There is some disturbance in the sea floor. That means because of the disturbance, the land has been pushed up. Then anytime it can go down. That probability exists. And then it was a rectangular walled city. It is clearly told there is no harbor, there is no other activity being done. It was just a city for pleasure. They well fortified the city with 4 walls, and then everything well laid, the mansions and then roads, everything for their happy living. That's all. It was a 4-walled city, rectangled city. There is no harbor, please remember. But in Dwarka or in Cambi excavations, we find evidence for harbor. Here there is no harbor according to Harivamsha. And then Krishna's mansion was on the original island. Vishwakarma built his mansion on the original stable island, and in the other areas where the land has come up, the other places, other Vrishnis were settled. And then Krishna's Dwarka existed for less than 100 years. Because only after Krishna built it up with the help of Vishwakarma, or it can be some other name, but it is given as Vishwakarma, by getting some extra land from the water, he lived. And after that only he married Rukmani. At that time, Rukmani was 16 years. This information is given in Harivamsha. And he had 10 children from Rukmani. So after this only, the Draupadi and Arjuna married Draupadi. Okay. And then after that, Arjuna went on from 13 years of exile. Then he comes back. Then all the 5 brothers, Pandava brothers, had their own children. And then they were once again exiled for 13 years. Then the war takes place. After that, 35 years they are living. On the 36th year, Krishna, that is the Dwarka, goes under the water. So if you are calculating, the missing part is how many years between that is the marriage with Rukmani and Krishna, that is a Pandava's exile. That we don't know. Then Pandava's exile time we know. And then how many years Pandavas, that gap, their marriage and the war time. Because all these are included in this. So at the most, Krishna lived for 82 years only. In their 50s, when they were in 50s, because all the Pandava brothers and Krishna, they were all just few years only. Like Arjuna was 3 months younger than him. And then Bhima was 1 year older than Arjuna. Yudhishthira 1 year older than Bhima. So all in the close age group only. So they must all have been in 50s when the war took place. Then after that 35 years they lived. 36 years this was born. So overall, less than 100 years only, this Krishna's Dwarka must have existed. Whereas the Kutch expeditions and the Cambi places, they all show evidence for hundreds of years. So definitely those places cannot be Krishna's Dwarka. So now I am showing the map here. That is Beit Dwarka, Kutch. This is Dwarakadish. This is Beit Dwarka where the excavation has done and then has been done, and then Cambi excavation place. And whereas Krishna's Dwarka should have been here because it is closer to Prabhas and closer to Veraval, where Krishna laid his mortal coils at the end. And this is Girnar, which was known as Mount Raivataka. So this is the geographic location of the places, the present excavation places, and the probable place of Krishna's Dwarka. And near Somnath, these offshore explorations have taken place just once for 500 into 500 meter range, but that was to the south west of Mool Dwarka, not in this region. And they have found some rocky bed and some evidence of living, that's all. but there is no evidence because they have searched in a place where original Krishna's Dwarka was there. Now, looking at the probable, like I am looking at the depth or the sea depth, because Prabhas is here, and I am saying yeah, the island is somewhere here. So here the level, that is the mud has, or the sea has just given up, or some land had risen in this place. If you are checking this area, this gap, this distance is 150 kilometers or 96 miles. For that extent, the depth is only 50 meters. Minus 20 meters. Minus 20 m means in the entire area, 20-meter depth. 20 meters is very less only, up to 50 kilometers. So there is, see how it is matching with what Harivamsha says. So to the extent of 150 kilometers here, from Prabhas to the island, the land had risen up, and even now it is just 20 meters below, and beyond that 30 meters below, and here 45 meters below, and then after that 1,000 meters. So only up to this, the land was just gradation is there. But in the immediate 150 kilometers, it is uniformly 20 to 21 meters only. The depth is so. So this, in this area, there is scope for the rise of the land. Now, what happened? This is the background of the Krishna's Dwarka that I have told. And then what happened? 4 warnings were there. Why the flood had come? The flood was forewarned. What you call as nimittas. They heard or they saw certain nimittas. The first one is unusual behavior of animals and birds. All these are given in Mahabharata itself. They keep finding some kind of unusual happenings. And then this made Krishna to say, hey, this is not safe now. Let's go to Prabhas. We will have a camp there. After things are okay, we will come back. That's what he says. So what are the nimittas or forewarnings that he had seen? Unusual behavior of animals and birds. And then streets were swarmed with several types of rats. And this is given, more explanation is given in this context. In Mahabharata, it says when people were sleeping, rats have come and eaten up their hair. And then they have bitten their legs. A lot of rats just running into the city. And then we will be wondering, they were wondering why this is unusual, But in earthquake analysis, particularly Japan and China, they have done the maximum number of researches in earthquake, because those two places are very often prone to, particularly Japan, very often prone to earthquakes. They have done a lot of researches, and one of the researches that I am showing here, done to understand the Kobe earthquake in 1995. There they noticed the rodent behavior, the rats. The final result of this research is that rats are able to understand or detect seismic activity much beforehand, pre-seismic signals. They are able to. So it shows there is an impending earthquake anytime. So that is there in modern analysis also. Then earthen pots showed cracks for no apparent reason. Suddenly they find the cracks without any shaking or anything. So how could it happen? So there must have been some micro vibrations which has caused it. And then the clean and well-boiled food was infested with worms of diverse kinds immediately after cooking. This can happen if the food decays. So the food has decayed immediately after that. That means there are kind of, it could be due to some chemical combination in the air or in the surroundings which had decayed it. And what is that? We have to, no one had analyzed it. So far, this one was not noticed in Japan or in Chinese earthquakes. So nobody has done it. I wish someone takes it up and then just finds out how the decay is, why the decay is happening. Anyway, everything is connected with some kind of seismology, seismic activity, which is pre-seismic, I should say. Some changes in the air, chemical changes. The heavy tread of several men running was heard while no one is running. Everybody is just settled, but suddenly, as though people are running, that sound is being heard. So it was also so terrifying for them from where the sound comes. And if somebody is running, means the sound should be coming from the ground. from under the ground. So something is wrong or going wrong in the under the ground. And then another one, fires when ignited cast their flames towards left and sometimes throughout flames of blue and red. And I have given one research article. What the clipping that I am showing is from Japan or somewhere. I don't exactly remember. I have to see. But there they have shown when there is a electromagnetic variation during or before a seismic attack, the fire that is in the candlelight in normal times, it will be like this. It is just blended. So this is what they have noticed in that time also. So all these nimittas are showing that there is a seismic activity under the ground of Dwarka, and Krishna advised everybody to move over to Prabhas. So from Prabhas, they thought it is a safer place. Let us not be here. Now I am showing the seismic record. I just told this shows the seismology, seismic problem in that area. But now we have to know scientifically whether there does exist any seismic fissure or any scope for seismic activity in that place. This is the map of Gujarat. This is Gujarat, where I am showing the fissures or the probable. So far, we have found out these places. See, every line here indicates fissure that is likely to have friction anytime in the past or in future. And what you can see is on the western coast of Gujarat, the entire region has a long fissure, as though it is bordering it. Like that, in the southern side also, there is a border. The D I am showing is the Dwarka of Krishna. You can see it like Krishna's Dwarka at 21 degree north and then 70 degree east. There, near Prabhas, I am showing, and you can see it is close to seismic regions. Suppose there is an earthquake here, then also this will be affected. This also will be affected. And what I am showing here is how the Vrishnis, killed each other. The story goes that they were camping in Prabhas, and then there was a fight between two sections of them, particularly triggered by two of Krishna's relative. One is Satyaki and other is Kritavarman. And Satyaki was always with Krishna and he fought on the side of Pandavas. Kritavarman, though he was with Krishna, when they went to meet Pandavas after the peace mission was over, they made a choice to with whom you want to go, you please go. Satyaki made a choice to be with the Krishna and Pandavas. Kritavarma said, I will go with Duryodhana. The reasons are not known, but I guess, though it is not given in Mahabharata, they may have some marriage alliances. It's so common in those days. And even for Krishna, Duryodhana very much expected Krishna to help him because Krishna's son married Duryodhana's daughter. So they are sambandhis. So he would have expected Krishna to support him, but he didn't. So like that, some marital relationship should have been there that caused Kritavarma to side with Duryodhana. But what happened? In the war, both the sides, they transgressed dharmic way of fighting. So during this camp, when they were staying later on, when Krishna told there are nimittas, bad nimittas, better go to Prabhas, we will have a tent there, we will stay there. At that time, that they were in an inebriated condition, they started having a wordy duel, like Satyaki blaming Kritavarma and Kritavarma blaming Satyaki, that each of them, they did not do the war in a dharmic way. So it went into a fight, full-fledged fight. At that time, they had seen this growth. Can you see the growth of grass on the seashore? The story you would have already known. Like Krishna's son Shamban, like he had one sort of one something he made as like he appeared like he just had something on his stomach, and then he just made himself appear as a pregnant woman, and then went and showed to the sages camping there, and he is a male, but he cannot be pregnant, but he just simply like that asked what child that he is going to get, and they said only some iron rod will be there, will be born. They were too scared, and they opened whatever hiding they were hiding, they saw an iron rod. They immediately pounded it into small pieces and then threw it into the seashore. and that had grown into iron rods. That is what the story says. But in reality, what could have happened? This is just a story. We all know this cannot be a possibility. My contention is that that area was already experiencing some underground seismicity. And that area on the seashore, right on the west of Gujarat, the entire region had a lot of fissures. That is, there is a scope for that is a magma or whatever that internal material just coming out in sudden throws. You can see this in California, off California, in the ocean bed. I forgot to bring that picture. They have noticed some kind of rod-like structures rising from the ocean floor. People have seen, and then scientists have worked on it, and they have found out to be the magma release. When the magma was released, hot magma was released, it solidified after coming out. So like this, the magma should have got released in many ports in this region and would have solidified. And these people, these Vrishnis, would have just plucked them. And then it was very hard. So with that, they have beaten each one of them, each other, and then they died. This is how the process of death and why the iron rods would have come up there. That story, the justification for the story from the magma residue only I can relate with. And then how, okay, they did that. They killed each other. But what Krishna did then was to tell his charity at Dwarka to go to Arjuna immediately, to go to Hastinapura and then bring him and to take the other people, actually the old, the meek, the women, children, they were all there in Dwarka. See, actually, some people may be asking why Krishna brought only the men folk in Prabhasa. He could have shifted all the people there. He didn't. Maybe that is the destiny that he wanted to be given, but the way maybe that is what he wanted the destiny to be for the other people also. They have to be without the men folk in their family. But boys and girls, small children were there, old people were there, women were there in Dwarka. So if from 7th day from now onwards, Dwarka will be flooded, Dwarka will be lost. So let Arjuna save them. Let Arjuna take them to a safer place. Go, Dwarka, go and tell Arjuna and come back. It is 1,400 kilometers from Dwarka to Hastinapura. Then you can imagine how fast he could have gone. It would have definitely take 1 to 1.5 days to reach if he is going very fast by chariot. But by the time he came, they don't know at that time when he was informed, he informed Arjuna about it, when Dwarka informed. No one knows that Krishna also had gone, because after Dwarka left, then only Krishna died. Krishna was lying on the floor, ground, just before him, just before he did that, Balarama, he left this world through his yogic power, and then he was just lying on the ground, and this Jara, that hunter, had thrown he has shot an arrow at his feet. That is how he died. So this was not known to outside world, to Hastinapura people. So Arjuna, when he came, he was thinking only the Vrishnis have died, but he had no idea that Krishna also had left the world. So that is the background story. And then he came, immediately he is evacuating, they all left. We'll come to that later. But we should know why Krishna, the Dwarka got sank. For this, I am giving this example. This not example, this explanation. There is a research on the topography of the coast of Prabhas. There is something called Nataraja submarine slide. That is, it says, that is off the coast of Gujarat. This is Gujarat. Can you see this small one on top? Is the Gujarat area. This is the Bombay area. This is South India. That is in peninsular India. And this orange, that is this region, is some extra sedimentation. But what happened? Off the coast of Gujarat, that is Saurashtra coast, the land is, that is in the ocean, the land is sliding. There is a submarine slide going on for thousands or millions of years. This is not a one-day affair. This has been going on for years. And this person, that is in Earth and Planetary Science Letters, I just showed one article, they have done a research on that, and they have found out that in this area there is continuous attrition of submarine land, and what they call it as Nataraja slide. It just comes like this and then goes into Arabian Sea. And there is one ridge here in the middle of the Arabian Sea, which is called the Lakshmi Ridge, the Lakshmi Basin, they say. This is Lakshmi Basin. So what happens, this area, the sedimented, whatever land area here, or the sedimentation, or here you see the intersedimentation, nothing happens to that. Only near Gujarat, it has been happening for ages. That is, that sediment is just sliding because it is loose sand. Not only that, there is seismic activity on the ocean floor, magnetic anomalies in the ocean floor. This is causing the land to slide. This is named as Nataraja slide. It just goes into Lakshmi Basin and then goes into the Arabian Sea once for all, just gets into Indian Ocean. So this topographical feature is there. So this is another view of it. Here you are seeing India, and this area only, where the arrow mark is seen, in this area, the slide is happening. The slide just comes like this and then goes off. And here, these lines, these are all magnetic anomalies on the ground, on the floor. These are all fissures. Fissures means some earthquake prone, some compression zones are there. This Lakshmi Ridge comes here. So there is a continuous, you can see the legend here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, the earthquake epicenter. That is continuity. Edge of Nataraja, MTC means this submarine slide is happening. This edge. So this is coming and then it just goes into that. You can see this place where I have done this marking, this is the place of Krishna's Dwarka. I already told you that 70° east, 20° west. In that area, that slide is happening. Because that area is unstable, that area had uplifted when Krishna wanted to build. So whatever was uplifted could not stand on forever. Someday it had to go down because it is unstable area, and also that is prone to landslide. Because it was a landslide, it just sank. There was no tsunami. People used to say there was a tsunami. Earlier, I showed that Makran subduction. In Makran subduction, tsunami was there. But remember, in tsunami, the tsunami will destroy the standing structures, but it cannot sink a land. I consulted the tsunami experts when I was writing this book, and I got it confirmed by them also. They said tsunami will not sink a land. There is a sea level rise means that it will sink. There is no sea level rise at that time, because if there is a sea level rise, other places along with the coast of Gujarat also would have sunk. Nothing of that kind happened because no one knew that Krishna's Dwarka was lost until Arjuna came and told his Pandava brothers 7 months after Krishna has left. No one knows that it had gone underwater. So it was a localized affair. It was not a global sea level rise. There was a global sea level rise 35 years before that. Before the war, there was a global sea level. That is what I have written in the book. And Vidya ji also told about the cosmic impact. Because of that, biblical flood had happened. And then Sahara just got changed. The climate of Sahara got changed. A lot of changes happened. But at that time, there was a global level. Global level rise. Whereas now, in this case, it was a localized affair. It was not a, what shall I say, it did not affect a large area. Because for 6-7 months, the Arjuna had taken time to resettle the people, the remaining survivors. Until then, nobody in the mainland knew. So always remember, if somebody is saying, no, it was a global, because Nilesh Book says so, even others are saying so, it has no basis. And if you're looking at the description also, it just says, as the people moved, the places they left, they just sank. The waves just engulfed them. It just went under the water. It was like how, this is Pavlopetri. There is a place called Pavlopetri in Greece. It was an entire city. It just sank. Even now it is there under the ground because of an underground under the water earthquake, the entire city just went under the water. And the expeditions are happening, they're able to see the city. So it like that it sank. But what happened? It was washed away because there was a slide, continuous submarine slide happening. The entire city was washed away. That is why we are not able to find out any evidence of Dwarka there. But I have only two hopes I am giving. One hope is that, according to Mahabharata, near Prabhas, to the west of Prabhas, Saraswati River entered the ocean. Nowadays, people are showing the Saraswati having entered the ocean near Kutch. No, not at all. It is clearly told in Mahabharata from Prabhas, where Saraswati joined the sea. Balarama started his pilgrimage to the Himalayas. So the Saraswati is such a massive river. Some 10,000 years ago, it was 4 miles broad at the estuary. So definitely the imprint should have been there at the bottom. So that we can look for. The second one was the main island was a stable island, because in the description of Mahabharata and in the Puranas also it is said, even though the one by one all the places were sinking as they were moving, the mansion of Krishna was standing for a few days, particularly the Parijata tree that Satyameva brought. Remember in the story of Narakasura, they brought from Indraloka. Indraloka was not there outside India. It was Indradvipa, which was Myanmar and Thailand. From Indradvipa, they brought it. So that was standing for some time. But when Pandavas, after coming to know that Dwarka was lost, 7 months later only they came to know. And then Vidura also came to know only after 7 months, because he went on a pilgrimage to Prabhas. At that time only he found out that Dwarka was lost. Immediately he came to Hastinapura to tell Dhritarashtra, your time has come. Krishna has left. You also go to forest. Only at that time, Arjuna also arrives and then tells the brothers the loss of Krishna and Dwarka. So only after 7 months they come to know. When they came to know, they relinquished the throne and then gave it to Parikshit. They started on a pilgrimage. Normally people think they immediately went to Himalayas and then died one after the other. Not so. They went on a pilgrimage. So first they came to Dwarka. When they came to Dwarka, they came to Prabhas. Really well talking. Even I feel very emotional. Just imagine Arjuna, Pandavas, how closely they have moved with Krishna. Krishna, the Lord, is not there. When they visited, there was no Dwarka. Mahabharata says so. They looked at the sea. There was just sea. No standing structure. So this gives a very important clue. Seeing from Prabhas, we look at the sea. That is where Dwarka was. There we have not done any research at all. And whatever research that you are going to undertake, even after seeing this video or my book, I have shared it with all the VIPs. If somebody, even in this New York, if they undertake, they can look for a stable land, a rocky land where Krishna's mansion was standing. So that was stable even at that time, even though the landslide was there, but it sank anyway. The loose sands have gone by. So the foundations could have been there. The foundations of his mansion could have been, some remnants could have been there, some 150 kilometers from the, or within that region, they should have seen. But when, this is a very, just one verse told in Mahabharata, but it just, I cried. When I read it, I cried. Just imagine how they would have felt, the loss, the sense of loss. Actually, the sense of loss came to them after knowing that Krishna was no longer there. Only then they decided to relinquish everything and then. So such was the emotion that Krishna and his Dwarka creates. And any questions, doubts we can ask?
It was a fascinating session. It was quite fascinating in the sense of the details that was given, how people were migrating and what happened to Dwarka. And the Mahabharata story was also coming in detail on what was happening during that time. It was quite very, very interesting and very fascinating to listen.
Thank you, because every factor that I told is impregnated with some important issue, which common people may not be knowing. I don't want to waste my words. I think I didn't waste my words.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was everything was actually done very nicely, and all the details were there. The proofs were given, and you have prepared actually very good slides for it. And when we upload it to the YouTube, everybody will be able to see it too. Vidyaji.
It was completely, I was completely wrapped up in your words, ma'am. I was not looking at the time, and it's only when Ravi mentioned the time I realized how much time had gone by. It was, so gripping. I mean, and to be very honest with you, one thing that kept playing in my mind was this is something which should be introduced to our students at the earliest, ma'am, phase by phase, whether it is in schools or in, upper, higher schools or in colleges. Students should know this is actually textbook material that you have given in such, going up to, the higher levels. So students need to start learning this at the earliest. And if I had any access to this 20 years or 30 years ago, I would have been a history student long back, ma'am. So because of people like you, we are falling in love with history. We are feeling so proud of, our history. It was amazing, ma'am. It was really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I would suggest you to take it to NIOT or some geologists or to the Government of India. I have sent this book to Government of India. I got this particular topic published in one of the magazines of Koti Sri Ramalu University only, but that is behind the paywall, so people are not able to see. I am glad that I got a chance now, but please take it to the people to whom it matters. They have to, I'm saying this is the probable place. Let them do the research. And I'm giving the justification for why the other places cannot be true. So let them research. We need to take it to the government only. Somehow, when you get a chance, please take it to them. More than to students. Let the students also know, that the Anchor community also know. Maybe through the videos they will see. And but the government should do the needful. More research on this. After 2001, that is after that Vajpayee government, not much has happened with reference to Dwarka. Probably they all got just fed up with getting the very later, either very early dates or very late dates. They are not able to locate. Now I am giving a location. Let people see.
Absolutely. And the people who are there who would like to ask questions can raise their hand and come up. The hand raising is open. Madam, actually, I have noted down a few questions as you were mentioning Dwarka and what happened to Dwarka. I'll go through them. You can answer them briefly. I'll go through them. The Kutch and Cambi, the excavations, the actual excavations that was done in Kutch and Cambi, and are these regions mentioned in Mahabharata? During that time, definitely it will be above water and must have been populated at that time.
One that is south of Somnath. That is the Mool Dwarka. In that corner, there is possible. Because facing the sun in that corner, when Krishna or somebody, they were praying, I think Akrura, when he was praying that he saw one diamond or some gem, the Syamantaka gem, that origin comes from there. So beyond that, there is no mention of that. Actually, that area was salt area, Lavana, salt city only that was considered as. The Anartha kingdom was around Raivataka. In the Cambi region, Mahabharata related ones were not there. But one thing I tell you, the Cambi region, even 7500 BP, even Holocene, before Holocene, that is before 9000 years ago, people would have lived. There is evidence for that. The issue is, from there people can enter Central India. You have Bhimbetka and so many evidence of prehistoric man having lived in the Vindhya Satpura in Narmada region. So in that region, suppose there was mostly people lived in coastal areas. So a prehistoric man could have lived in the Cambi region and could have further gone into the Narmada and then the Bhimbetka more than 10,000 years ago. That cave paintings are there. All these can be connected, but they were not connected with Mahabharata because Mahabharata is much, much, much later. So this area was not at all in their reckoning.
Understood. Another question that you were mentioning, probably we should do some excavations in the actual Dwarka region, where the actual Dwarka was there. But so you were mentioning about the Nataraja slide. If it was moving towards the sea, will there be any remains of the actual Dwarka there, because it's actually moving towards into the sea, right?
Difficult. That is very difficult. But only one thing I'll tell you. In Graham Hancock, you would have heard about him. He, along with Milne, he created this sea level maps. So in one of actually, I wanted to show that sea level map, but since taking long time, I didn't take it. You can see that there were structures where I show where I am zeroing on the island. There are structures in those days. Maybe 7,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago. That is the Dwarka. Gujarat was not at all a peninsula then. It was just connected with Bombay. So in between now, it has become a peninsula, isn't it? That Cambi gap is there. So because of sea level rise, it has all become. So in this side, where I am showing Dwarka, there also there was a bit of land that was before 7,000 years ago. So that land, some remnant, maybe to the extent of 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers, it would have been there during the Krishna's time, because Garuda only comes and identifies it, then tells him there is an island there, you can build there. So a small, like how big Dwarka is there now, it's a very small one. That is how it should have been there. So this, there is a probability of a rocky or a stable land from Graham Hancock's maps. I'm able to see sea level rise plus slide, everything is there. Only loose sand will be just going off. The hard stuff should have been there. That's why I have a slightest belief that some foundations where Krishna's mansion was there could have been found if we search in the exact location. So that possibility.
Only a search will reveal the truth, right? So that should be done.
Yes, yeah, we have not searched that area. Today, see, you don't have to manually search. A lot of satellite technologies are there. They can start looking for some structures under the water, on the ocean floor. Then we can see. They can pinpoint and then precisely they can go and find.
Absolutely. Another question that I noted down is, if the Krishna knew that this land is not going to last for very long since it came from the sea, what is your opinion why he chose the land? Because he was not supposed to give that land to his ancestors and people to continue to live.
He chose? Yes, he knows it was something unstable. So he didn't see most of the main avatars. See, Manu, where was he? He was in the Saraswati region. It's no longer there. And then what about the early Tamil, the best one, the Shiva Meenakshi marriage in southern Madurai, somewhere near Southeast Asia only. It is not there. Mostly, if you are looking back in history, the divine or the most important ones, they have gone. They have not withstood time. That is why wherever a new place we go, and then we establish. That habit is there. So everywhere you have all more Dwarakas and more other places connected to the divinities are there. He knew maybe that is how he wanted destiny to work, and he knew how the Vrishnis were greedy. So this kind of fate will befall them. Maybe he chose knowingly. He is a knower. He is Kalapurusha.
Definitely. And you also mentioned
a normal person would not have chosen, because he is the God he has chosen.
Very true. A specific reason will be there for all his actions, right? Because he knows everything.
Yes.
So
yes.
And the other one that I written is, you mentioned there was actually there was a sea level rise during the Mahabharata war, that period. That would have created some sort of a warning or something like that, or may have caused some damages in Dwarka.
No, rather than a sea level rise, actually that was not recorded. Sea level rise is not recorded in scientific maps. Climatic change is recorded in GISP2 maps before that. That is, I have been, even in Mohenjo-daro also, one commentary piece had fallen. That was identified as evidence for Aryan invasion theory by foreigners. Actually, in Mohenjo-daro, why Mohenjo-daro? It is known as the Mound of the Dead. There is a mound near this Great Bath. Underneath only some 40 or 50 dead bodies are found in strange conditions, strange positions. The research has shown there was radioactive this evidence there, which is mostly found in the case of nuclear wars or in the case of meteor falls. There is radioactivity. I have written in my book to research for that also. So that caused some climatic change. Probably that climatic change only caused these Hindu people to shift their horse breeding regions to Anatolia. That is scientifically also accepted now. The flood, the sea, rather than the sea level rise, I should say the biblical flood happened from Persian Gulf to Euphrates and Tigris and to that Mount of Arata. Because one piece had fallen into the Persian Gulf, according to my contention, because I'm showing the locations. In the same locations, the pieces are falling. And at that time, there was a comet also sighted. And a research paper also have come up. I interacted with the person, written all that in the book. So because of that sudden fall of that big piece in the Persian Gulf, the water had just gushed into Euphrates and Tigris, and this 7-day flood that is mentioned in Bible has come up. Whereas in Mahabharata, it is clearly told water just swelled but did not cross the shore. So it swelled. Some tsunami-like thing had happened, but did not cross here. So only that is being told. Not exactly a sea level rise, but climatic change has been told. I have listed down several climatic changes, that's called as Payora oscillation. You just type Payora oscillation in Google search, you'll find the details. It's over a period of, shall I say, some 2 to 3 decades. 4 times this meteors have fallen. Because of that, the climate have changed. And Mahabharata is the third event, I think. Fourth event is the Burkle near Madagascar. So there was no substantial sea level rise there during Mahabharata.
Clear, madam. Another question. I mean, we were mentioning about the Arjuna was actually taking the women and children and everything towards the Saraswati region, towards the 5 rivers and all that. It occurred to me why Arjuna took them to that region, whereas should have gone to Hastinapur or like that.
They might not have wanted. That reason is there. But where to settle them? Till then, see, even though Jarasandha was gone, the animosity with people there would have been there. And also people used to prefer riverside. Earlier, they were in the coastal side. They were in Dwarka. So there was easy access for trade. So they would have preferred the Saraswati region or some waterway rather than any interior region, so that they are closer to, because see, most of the Harappan is there in Gujarat only. If you are going through the very recently means in the last decade, most of the places that we have found out in the early Harappan, mature Harappan, even in the later, up to mature Harappan, I should say, are all in Gujarat only. See, actually they have come back to Dwarka only now after this decline of Harappan. In 1500 BCE, they chose Dwarkadish and Dwarka. So anyway, they would, basically they wanted to come back to their original place. They didn't want to go much interior.
Or the distance also may have been. You mentioned 1,700 kilometers.
Mainly, in Mahabharata, we often come across them as traders. And also, Dhritarashtra used to be addressed as the king of Vaishyas, Vishampate, Vaishyaspati. So Vaishyas were very important for the kings. Vaishya group, because they are traders, they bring all the wealth. They mostly, even okay, you think in these lines. Why in Mahabharata, Krishna sided with both, There are 2 routes for them. One is through Gandhara to Central Asia, to Europe. So Gandhara was under the control of the Kauravas. So if they have to go to Gandhara, I mean, they have to pay whatever taxes and other things will be there. India participated in this war. It's because they have to see, even Tamil Nadu people, even the other places also, the armies have been sent. Why? Unless they have an economic reason, they will not send. So the 2 routes is, one is through Dwarka, straight there is a road to, what shall I say, not exactly to Dwarka, to some place in the Uttarpada. From there they enter Central Europe. Another way is through Gandhara. So in both these ways, another way is through the seashore. So when generally people would like to have control over all the routes, isn't it? So the Hastinapur was were controlling the Gandhara. Now, after the war, that also had come under their control. So they became too powerful. And another reason I tell you, Chera king did not take part. Because in Tamil Sangam, Purananu, there is a verse on Udiyan Cheraladan, Perinjotrudiyan Cheraladan, which says he only supplied food to both the sides. He did not take part. Why didn't he take part? Because the probable reason I am saying, he was on the coastal side. He had his own port. See, it was easier for him to go to any place from his port. He didn't depend on Dwarka or Gandhara or any interior routes. So when you are thinking in those lines, so it makes economic sense to side with the Pandavas to have control over Gandhara also. So that is how the let me just ask the question again. I just went away from the question, I think.
I was asking why Arjuna took the women and children towards.
Yes, why he took. Maybe they wanted to have only in this region, their familiar one. And of course, Gandhara and other places were very closer to the Sindhu country. Jayadratha's people. Actually, they only had interacted or traded in this region. These people would have gone through Dholavira, Persian Gulf, and then Euphrates. That is how they would have entered. So some animosities only, the existing animosities continued with the Jayadrathas and on the other side also.
Definitely. Vidya, go ahead.
Yeah. So, ma'am, actually, you had mentioned about the cosmic, what do you say, and comet, an impact of a comet hitting. So, where did that happen? Because the characters in Mahabharata seem to be discussing about that. So, where did it happen? What were the implications? What happened after that?
So far, like I discussed this with a meteor scientist who is also a climate scientist. Actually, when I published a paper, now at the end of the book, I have published my research paper. You can see at the end of the book. And that was a peer-reviewed. That was circulated among many people. And one of the persons who had read it, he contacted me. He is a climatologist from Germany. He's a German. And we actually, the chapter 10 and 11 were written only after a discussion with him only. So we have discussed many scenarios. Finally, we are able to see in Langtang in Nepal. That is some few 100 kilometers to the west of Kailash. In Mahabharata, Vyasa says that from the Kailash also, from the Mount Kailash, very big, huge, thunderous sounds of something falling, breaking is there. He mentions that. So we were searching that region also for any cosmic impact. There is one in Langtang, some landslide thing. That is, it had fallen, it had just and it had come down. That kind of description is there in Mahabharata. So that region's latitude is almost same as Mohenjo-daro that I told that mount, that latitude, same latitude only. Suppose it is just falling, broken pieces are falling, they just fall from the same direction, almost around the same latitude that is there. In Hastinapur or so, they would have been very small meteor showers only, so that they would not have created any crater. Whereas in Gujarat, that Luna crater and other crater, initially people were thinking that it is 2000 years old or so. Very recently, I found a research article saying it should have been more than 4000 years old. So in the Gujarat region also, several have fallen. And in that is, they have created the craters. Whereas in Hastinapur, they didn't create any craters, because now we are not able, because it will be a perfectly round shape. A lake should have been there. If a meteor had fallen and created a crater, it should have been a almost round shaped pit in which water would have got filled. That kind of appearance from the satellite maps or from geographic maps, we are not able to get. maybe there are some, if you search, very small ones could have been there. But it does say, Mahabharata does say that it had fallen. Particularly on the day Bhishma was anointed as the commander-in-chief, that evening it just had fallen. It was just terrible. Only on that night they see the difference in that Arundhati Chait procession. Actually, it just became like this. And I have, if you have been following me on Twitter, I would have shown recently also. That is, Moon and Venus were side by side some 1 year ago, just side by side in the western sky. I just photographed it, just side by side. Around the same time, a friend of mine from Malaysia photographed it. It was like this. That means in a different latitude, the alignment will be different. In my latitude, what it appears, in Malaysian latitude, it will be like this. So that is what my friend, that's my Mr. Seifert, the meteor analyst, he told that. How this, actually he was very astounded when I said, this Arundhati Vasishta alignment, it will not change. But the thing is, what you're seeing like this, they are there, they would have seen like this. So what he says, because of the impact, for a second, few minutes, the earth would have trembled. So this version, the sighting was exactly done at that time by Vyasa. It had trembled, so he was immediately after that, everything became hazy. That's what he has written. He also told, whatever we see or we have recorded in the case of a meteor fall or a comet fall is exactly repeated in Mahabharata. Not just one or two, more than 75. And he himself says, Dhumaketu Mahagorha Pushyam Akramya Tishtati. He says, Dhumaketu, on the day of Pushya, it just stopped. And around that time, there was a comet that just turned around the sun. Recently, in a research article came, a Chinese have written that. I have contacted him also. I have written about that in the book. It just it crossed even Mercury's orbit. At that time, it just burst. It happens when the comets are turning around the sun because of the sun's pull, they break away. It broke into two, huge two, and the article says, that is, the research says, and both of them have left the solar system, and one of it just vanished, that is destroyed further, and another one got destroyed only recently, some faraway region. And he's told around 5,000 years this has happened, and from the earth people would have seen it. When I contacted him, I gave him the information from Mahabharata, and I just asked him whether the Mahabharata, there is a reference like this, could they have seen? He said it's possible they could have seen, but whether it had fallen on earth or not, we don't have a reference. But it had broken. When it is breaking, many smaller pieces also would have got detached. Then, since it was broken, it was coming with super speed. In normal speed, it would not have happened. In super speed, when it is just splashing on different directions, it has just come and hit the moon and the earth simultaneously. The main problem is it had attacked the moon. That is, it was a Sashti day, Krishna Sashti. So in Kartika Masa. So in that Kartika Masa, every day I used to go to the terrace and watch whether I am able to see, because it says the moon's dark spot had shifted places. From Earth, I tell you, what you're seeing in the internet, particularly published by NASA, is what is seen from US. You are in US, you'll be seeing the dark spots in a different way. For us, it will be like we used to say, an old lady is sweeping the floor in this direction. Whereas in US, it will be like this, upward. For us here, because when I went to US, I myself really when I went to US for the first time, I had a feeling that I will fall down, because the zodiac was seen just down, very much low. I was trying to position myself straight. That kind of initial illusion was there for 3 days. So the difference is there. So I wanted to make sure how Vyasa would have seen it from India. So on Kartika, on the Sashti day, most of the portions were dark. The dark spots were there. And because it was a Krishna Sashti period, it was brownish. The entire the surface was brownish, it won't be whitish. Only in a waxing phase, it will be whitish. Moon will be whitish seen from India, not in the waning phase. So only little spaces left. So there they would have seen. So there it would have just hit. You know one thing, even now, every week, that article by me, that research article by me, is highly read. Every week that is a top read, more than 100, and almost all of them are foreigners. And I was contacted by many foreigners from Canada to Australia, and then from US also, who have worked on meteor issues to get more information about it. There is a crater search on Moon. On the Earth, they are not searching. In the Moon, they are searching. If it is found out, they will give their name to that crater. As far as India is concerned, this particular event has been named as Hastinapura event by my the climatologist friend. And he has promised to bring out an article on that, and he is collecting the information, particularly on land top in Nepal. So that Nepal evidence only is the tangible evidence outwardly that we have. Other ones are all there in Mahabharata, and he is very sure a person cannot imagine and write all this. Unless a person has seen, so much of information cannot be written. And he's very surprised, saying that this means the written form is there 5,000 years ago. Whereas you have been thinking writing was introduced by Mesopotamia only 3,000 years ago. But you are showing an evidence. But who will listen to it? Government of India only can do something about it, not others. Otherwise, and another thing, this competition, what Jayasree says, what others say, oh, hers is right or mine is right. And this only with all these, it is difficult to push. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Let Krishna do.
With that, actually, we will wind up here.